Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you about paragraphs again, body paragraphs and conclusion paragraphs, and I actually did this on Saturday afternoon but forgot to put on my headset, so was assuming that my camera had a mic in it and it didn't. So here's the video with sound. I'm not super concerned about this. I provided you guys with the handout. Yes, you maybe wanted to watch the recording, but you can watch it after the fact or even before class today, and then I have a plan to help you with some of these issues that I'm going to be talking about in the video today. And this should be pretty quick because I already went through this on Saturday. I'm going to run through this stuff really fast. So the handout was there early Saturday morning to give you some ideas for body paragraphs. You'll recall we talked about introduction paragraphs on Wednesday at the end of class. So what do you need to know about body paragraphs for essays in general, but specifically for memoirs? Well, the idea behind paragraphing is that it's really made to help your reader to follow along with whatever it is that you're saying. In this case, you're writing a story. So you are going to want to start a new paragraph when, and I want to highlight this part on the handout. Oops, see if I can get just this line. Oh, it's not letting me. This sentence, don't bury important parts of the story in long paragraphs, is what I wanted to highlight there. You want to start a new paragraph when you notice that there's a part of your story that you need to call attention to, and it shouldn't be buried in the middle. Think about the Junot Diaz piece that we've been looking at in class. There are very few long paragraphs in that piece, and the reason why it's written that way is because he wanted for us to be able to follow his story, and each time there was something significant to him that he wanted us to know, he started a new paragraph, and sometimes that was a one-sentence paragraph, sometimes it was 2 to 3 sentences. I think the longest paragraph comes in the part where he talks about that nictitating membrane lifting off the eye. That part is the longest, and so feel free to write paragraphs the length that you need them to be. That old rule about the 5 sentences is kind of baloney, and you don't really need to be thinking about your writing in those ways. You write a paragraph the way you need it to be written. And so long paragraphs are not wrong either, but just be careful not to bury important stuff. If you feel like the stuff in the middle of a paragraph needs to be paid attention to, then I would recommend a body paragraph break, because what happens in a reader's mind when they end a paragraph, whether you realize it or not, is the reader kind of goes, okay, took that part in, now a new part. And so it's sort of a processing thing that helps readers to follow along. So that's how you're going to do your body paragraphs. There's no length requirement. And then I also have this third bullet point here to ask you to think about using shorter paragraphs to help readers to see the emphasis in your story. So I'll say a few things about what emphasis might be in any essays. It could be details. It could be source information. That's not applicable at all to the memoir. So in a memoir, it's description, but it might be reflection. It might be where you say something about the importance of the story. You'll recall there's a short paragraph in Junot Diaz's memoir, The Money, where he talks about his mom's response to the burglary. And he specifically pulled that information out and made one short little paragraph about it so that we would know that her anger sort of became his anger. It translated to him, right? Or it transferred to him. He translated it for himself and then said, I'm going to go get those guys because I have a feeling I knew who it was. So yeah, you need to make sure, sorry, my phone is ringing. Make sure that you are using short paragraphs to your advantage. One last thing I'll talk about very quickly is transitions. You guys might think of this as how does a story flow from part to part. And so I give you some reminders in this part of my handout that of course you can use words to help us to know about your calendar time. So what happened back in January, you make a reference to January in a paragraph, and then maybe 2 months later, maybe a week later something else happens. So those transitions can help us to see what the passage of time is. You can also use clock time if you need to. Other keywords that indicate movement and time would be things like first this happened and then next that happened later, in the end. Those kinds of transition words that we're used to using. We're pretty natural at using them actually. Page 57 in our textbook has a list of transitions. categorized by type, and there is a category for time transitions, or sometimes called temporal transitions. So those time words will be helpful to your readers. But consider that those are the sort of easy, automatic, and maybe even mechanical ways of inserting transitions into your writing. So try some other options, questions that you think indicate your awareness to your reader, what you think they want to know about your story. And Junot Diaz did a brilliant job at this. I think he used questions maybe 4 to 6 times to lead us through his story. So we were, as I mentioned in class, feeling like we were having a conversation with him. And then another idea for transitions would be not just those simple plug in the words, first, later, then, in the end, those kinds of words, but trying to use full sentences, or words that are repeating key themes or ideas from earlier parts of your story. So repetition is another way that you can link parts of your story together. So try some different techniques with transitions, not just the ones that you've used in essay writing in the past. All right, this conclusion part, so we've covered intro, we did that in class, we've covered body paragraph ideas, and conclusion will go really fast, because really all I want to talk to you about is what a conclusion should do. A conclusion should wow your reader. That's what my handout says. And I say this because we're in the habit of writing conclusion paragraphs that are really kind of mechanical, maybe on the blah side. We kind of get to the end paragraph and we're tired already because we've invested a lot of effort into writing a lot of description, really making sure our narrative is flowing well, and maybe reflecting on what all this means to us in this story that we're telling in the memoir. And then we get to the conclusion and we go, okay, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to end this. And then for school essays, we usually end up just repeating. So I wrote about how this happened to me, and in the end, I learned a lesson. Okay, but those are the really sort of trite ways of ending a story or ending an essay, to be repetitive in that way. And the academic conclusion paragraph tends to feel like that, like we're asked to repeat ourselves. So we don't want to do that. We want to do something more. Is it okay to emphasize some of our key points? Absolutely. But do something more. Wow the reader is what I say here. So I'm not going to read through these. I'll let you check out the handout, and you're looking at this and could pause the video now if you'd like to look through these questions. The handout is also available below the link where I give you the video link, so you can look at these questions, and I'll probably display these in class tonight for you to choose an option. But this is what I would do. I would, maybe if you feel like you want to repeat what you've just said, you can. I think if you look at any of the example memoirs we've read, very few of the writers actually repeat what they've already said to us. They remind us, like when we read Rice, we knew it was still about her father. We got dialogue from him at the end. We knew what he said about his rice dish at the very end. So it's not as if we don't know that the ending is about the story about him. But she didn't just repeat what she had already said about him being very scheduled and very strict in his ways about doing things. So any of these questions can help you to come up with an idea for a conclusion that won't just repeat what you've already said and will make your conclusion more powerful. So we'll talk more about these things in class. I can't wait to hear from you about how your memoir revisions went. And we will definitely do a little bit more revising in class tonight on, what is today's date? The 11th. I'll see you tonight in class.